out there in podcast land? This is your host, Severen Henderson, here again with another episode of Department 3C Presents, a podcast connected to fire. So, I'm doing a brief intro for an episode that I recorded a little earlier last month. I had the pleasure of having father and son, DeKalbs Wolcotts Jr. and DeKalbs Wolcotts III. And they came on and talked about how DeKalbs Jr., which is the senior to me, how he got on the fire department, just kind of how he rose up through the ranks. He got to be a chief. And then his son comes in, the third, and he talks about his career as a firefighter within the Chicago Fire Department as well. So it was a nice, great, lovely, energetic conversation. We got together and I pretty much just, the reason I have to do this intro now is because we came and sat down, pushed record, and they just went. They just got going. I couldn't stop them, couldn't do an intro, couldn't introduce them. They just sat down and started talking. So that's why I had to come back and do this intro on the back end. So this is a real fun episode. Like I said, we get to talk about DeKalbs Jr., like I said, the senior to me, talk about his book that he wrote, talk about the book that he has coming up. And we're going to do some other projects together that have to do with the history of the fire department. So it was, like I said, it was a great conversation. It was a lively conversation. Everybody had a good time. And then right after that, we did another episode of the other podcast that we present here, the original Designated Drinker. So it was just a fun day all around. They hung out, stayed in the studio. It was a good time. Everybody got together. It was real fun. So with that being said, we will get into the episode. But before we get into the episode, just one thing I want to mention. I have gotten together. I know I usually talk about some of the business ventures that I have and all the things that I got going on. One of them is a crypto platform called Headway. If you would like to know more about it, please hit me up. I'm also going to start trying to put these videos on YouTube, or the podcasts on YouTube. So I'm looking into doing that. If you have some information, you can always send it to me. Department3c@gmail.com. I also have a professional email, info@department3c.com. And you can reach out to me. Tell me if you have any ideas for how I can get these videos /podcasts up on YouTube. I have an idea, but I'm always open to more suggestions. I always appreciate collaborative efforts. So if you have any info on that, don't hesitate to let me know. So I talked about Headway. I talked about the episode. And as always, we have a lot of things going on. Just got a new website built. It's going to be coming out pretty soon, department3c.com. So I hope you get a chance to take a look at that, see all the business ventures that we have to offer here. And coming up in a couple weeks, probably next month, so 4 weeks, I'm going to have a major announcement about another venture that I'm heading into. It's real fun. It's real supportive of the community. If you know me and we're friends already on any of the socials, you probably already have an idea what that is. But if you're not, please stay tuned so that you can find out what that new offering is. So with that being said, again, check out this episode. It was a blast, and I'll talk to you next time.
It's I'm grateful. Mm-hmm. That's all I can tell you. So he jumped on the bandwagon years ago. He's a little boy. I don't know how old he was, 8 years old.
Yeah.
I don't even think, I don't know, he was young. He was awfully young. His mother stopped by the firehouse. I was at truck 30 on, was that Engine 47's house?
Yeah.
Yeah, 67 in Marquette.
Okay.
King Drive.
Yep.
And wherever we were at, I was getting in the rig. I was like, you want to go with me? He was like, yeah. His eyes got real big, right? So he looked at his mother. He jumped on the rig. So I sat in the back with him. I let somebody else sit in the front seat. So I watched him going down the street the whole time. So the sirens, and he's watching the buildings go past. And, not knowing what to expect. Of course, I didn't either. But you know, those things mean something. You know, we're not the ones shooting people up down the street, robbing folks. Now, my dad, he did that.
Okay.
I mean, I'm not making this up. He was a bona fide criminal. And so I just, you know, most of my family was on the right. We grew up in the church. My dad was on the left. Like, he admitted the fact he couldn't work for white people. He hated being in that environment because where he came through segregation, you know, it's very demeaning, and out of the South too. Very demeaning, more demoralizing, a long list of things, and disrespectful. You know, you all have not a clue.
Well, that's why we have you here, so you can tell us. That's what everybody. That's what I want to know about. I'm sure a lot of listeners like to know about. So tell us as much as you.
Listen, people talk about, you know, some things I pondered, some things I'm quick-witted with, but people talk about why are young people doing what they're doing today. I'm not even a young person to know the answer. Because of segregation, poverty. Most of these young people, I'm the first generation not to die as a pauper, as a man. First generation. First, I mean, my son Matthew, he's going to be first generation Wolcott in our family with a college degree. And so young people, I mean, you know, when you have no clue of what the American dream is, what success in America is, not ever having anything, these people are virtually still in slavery. Why? Because they're victims of them to their own community. You know, not having an education means something. Now, the question is, what does it mean? Because you don't have to have a college degree to be wealthy. That's
not at all.
Fact.
Not at all.
So what's the drawback? What's holding us back? So here, I left the fire department in 2009. I could have stayed, been a higher ranking chief, been on the news. Oh, we saw you on the news, this, that, the other. Yeah. Okay, so we all have egos. The fire department's full of testosterone and ego.
Yes, absolutely.
For the most part. And so with that, I could have stayed. I had 8 more years I could have done. I would have been a deputy fire commissioner. It wasn't even a question in my mind. The fact was I wanted to do my family's genealogy, locate my grandfather and his father's whereabouts, and write that book, Black Heroes of Fire. As a matter of fact, I don't know if he remembers, but I wrote that book to motivate him. Yeah. That book is for him.
Okay.
It wasn't for me. I was gone. But
well, you had done your career and everything. So, right, it was for the next generation. For, like you said, for your son.
No, for him, but absolutely for him, his generation.
Yes.
Because the people who came, Engine 21, excuse me, ladies, was some kick-ass motherfuckers. That's all I can tell you.
Hey, the ladies listen to, they use those words just as much. So
well,
we're all inclusive. We got the E.
It's 2021, Pop. Go on ahead, say what you say.
That's fit. There was some kick-ass motherfuckers. Now, back in the day, firemen were big, strong brutes. Because of the type of equipment you don't know nothing about. He remembers. You don't know nothing about 3-inch hose.
No, I don't.
Double brass couplings.
Yeah, no.
Okay.
I know about it when I see the old stuff.
The fittings were, all this stuff is heavy, right?
Yeah.
And so, you know, they're raising wooden ground ladders, okay? Nothing like aluminum today. But getting back to my point, I could have stayed. I chose to write this book through my family genealogy. I'm changing my name, by the way, DeKalb. DeKalb Eugene McIntosh Wolcott.
Oh, that's what you're changing it to, or that's what
I'm
it
changing
is?
it to. I'm adding McIntosh. My grandfather was a Creek freedman. They identified as being Creek Black Indians because of their relationship with the Creek Nation, Muskogee Creek Nation. My grandfather was born in Eufaula. Anybody that knows anything about Oklahoma knows that that's an old town, goes way back. Matter of fact, they got a lake in place of it today. But my point being, my grandfather, he come up, and I never met him. my grandfather died at the age of 42 from TB in Memphis, Tennessee. My grandfather got run out of Oklahoma during the 1921 race riots. I found, in 1920, I found a Ku Klux Klan recruitment drive in Pasco, Okmulgee, Oklahoma. Mm-hmm. My grandfather lived there in 1910. As a matter of fact, one of his relatives was a Civil War veteran. He lived there, Robert Johnson. Mm-hmm. My grandfather in 1920 lived in Hamilton, Okmulgee County, Oklahoma. So that's not just the next city over. And so I honestly believe the fight in Oklahoma today is about Tulsa, but it's a bigger fight because the whole blacks will run out of the whole state of Oklahoma. Yeah. My grandfather had a wife named Beatrice. I have photographs of them. I found them on census. So a lot of this information I was able to piece together. If I had still been working, I'd had a pocket full of money, but I wouldn't have known a goddamn thing.
You wouldn't have had your history.
So what I do and what I've done since he's been here has been to influence him. I need as much as I can get out of him because he has to succeed. Mm-hmm. We've got too many people behind us who suffered, died. You know, I remember them. Yeah. Okay? And, you know, I don't make up excuses. Mm-hmm. I don't have a reason for failing. You have to stop me from going forward. Okay? You know, I don't go backwards. Yeah. So, and neither does he. So, but, you know, I don't want to dwell on that. What I do I wanted to express that point, though, because up until recently, you know, I had documents that said my grandfather was from Oklahoma, but I had nothing to tie it with. Okay. His doll roll number was 1067, born in 1895 in Eufaula. So when you talk about a doll's roll number, that's the Indian census sheet. Yep. Father Ben McIntosh, mother Sally McIntosh. Okay, so he got run out of Oklahoma during the 1921 race riots. I believe his wife was killed because she didn't come with him. Uh-huh. He met my grandmother in DeSoto County, Mississippi, just south of Memphis. And when that transpired, I found on the 1930 census list a relative of his that lived 4 doors away from my grandmother when she was 12 years old, whose name was Bloodsaw. Okay. That's an Indian name out of Tennessee. Yep. And Bloodsko, that's another one. They spell it differently, but it's the same pretense for the most part. Uh-huh. And they all coming out of Tennessee, right? So with that, my grandfather was run out of DeSoto County, Mississippi in, what year was that? Roughly March of 1935 or 6, one or the other. And that transpired as a result of a relative of ours was killed by a white man and on our family's front porch, and my aunt told me the story. Mm-hmm. So he in turn picked his family up from DeSoto County outside of Holly Springs, Mississippi, took them to Memphis. Okay. And maybe a year or so thereafter, he passed away from TB. Uh-huh. My father grew up on the streets of Memphis on Bill Street. He was raised by a blind peanut peddler. Anybody that knows anything about blind people, they have definitely a sixth sense. Oh, yeah, they figure out how to figure out, right? Yeah. So my father was very, he was a conniving son of a bitch. I got to talk like this because everything I said fits that picture. Yeah, okay, yeah. I'm just saying. You know, I had people ask me, you know, well, why you name it Black Heroes of Fire? Well, if you read the book, it says this term best describes this group of men. Yeah. Black men, they were definitely heroes of fire. Getting back to what I was talking about before, so my father raised himself hustling on the streets of Bill Street. He worked at the Peabody Hotel. He told me those things. Mm-hmm. You know, I have census sheet where they lived on Green Bay Street, and that's 4 blocks from Bill Street. Yeah. So my father would go to Bill Street with his grandfather, who was a blind man, and the census said he was a peanut peddler, so I attached the two. Okay. Blind peanut peddler. And going in and out of movie theaters, barber shops, you know, places of business, anywhere where he can sell his peanuts. Just the community, yeah. He's a blind man. You know, that's how he made his living. So my father picked up on all of the negative stuff, selling drugs. My daddy was a pimp, a strong-arm robber. When I say these things, because I'm not through. I'm not bragging. But I'm not making it up either. I'm not
you just
putting them on
the
a
truth.
pedestal.
Yeah.
I'm saying, you a crazy motherfucker. I can't do none of that shit, right? So So, but he was a strong arm robber. He was a drug abuser. He was a drug user. He sold drugs. He was a murderer. Check out, put his name in newspaper search and go to Omaha, Nebraska, 1978. Okay.
It'll pop up.
I'm telling you what's going to happen. I did it
right.
already.
I believe you.
So
I believe
he was so way over here on the left. And everybody else in my family, per se, were over here on the right. Went to church. That's where I grew up. That's where I got my basic, stayed out of trouble.
Yeah.
I wasn't in the streets. I knew I couldn't be like my father.
Yeah.
I couldn't make anybody proud of me doing the shit he did, right? And so I became very attached to my grandparents and great-grandparents that I remember from that time. And why? Because they were loving individuals. They were giving. My family never taught us about hate. My family never said you should hate those people over there. You know, that's not talked about. It wasn't talked about in our house. And I believe that that's not talked about in many Christian households because those people took who they were and their sacrifice very serious. You know, you think about it, slavery, and then to go into a Jim Crow situation, which puts you right back in the situation you were in before. Hell, you leave Mississippi and go across the river in Arkansas, you're moving in a tenant house that somebody moved out of where nothing was ever done to it since it's been put up there.
Yeah.
It's a piece of shit.
And it's still kind of going the same way.
Look in the front door, you're looking out the back.
Yeah.
And, how do you remain in that environment and still keep your sanity, okay? And so we've been able to do that, but there are scars. Now, getting to the book, I left the job in 2009 just to do those things that I talked about. I love my son. I tried to do all the right things, set all the right examples for him because he needed to know that he had to work to get to where he was going.
Right.
And so we enjoyed our days at the firehouse. It's just some cool stuff.
Yeah.
And I know he... I let him talk about his days when he was younger in the firehouse, maybe.
Yeah, we gonna get there in just a quick second. I was just gonna ask you before we got to him, because respect got to everybody who comes through the door, especially you being a senior individual here. How did you get into the fire department in the first place, and then we'll get into how he got in.
The reason how I got into the fire department are two reasons. Two reasons how I got in the fire. I was in college, Southern Illinois University, called home one weekend. My mother said, you got some mail here. And then she saw the policeman having a test, if you're interested. I said, Mom, I'm small. I'm not going to be a policeman because somebody would think they could misuse me. I would kill them. I wouldn't have a job long. Verbatim. She said, well, the firemen are having a test. I said, well, I'll take that. So when I came home that winter in December from Carbondale, I didn't go back the next year. I stayed home. I ran 3 to 5 miles a day, lifted weights 2-3 times a day. I know I don't look like it now, but I'm just saying. And so I prepared myself about 4 to 6 months every day. I didn't do anything day. I slept 14 hours every day. And I ran, I lift weights, I did all of those things. And so the second part to that story is, without the affirmative action on the fire department, I never would have gotten hired.
Okay.
Why do I say that? I say that because the city of Chicago had never had the tendencies to hire blacks unless they were forced.
Yeah.
We
know about that with the Appendix G and all that other.
And they don't
stuff.
use that. That's another conversation.
That's a whole nother conversation. Exactly. So keep going.
So affirmative action is what got me hired. Now I scored 820 out of 20,000 people. I did very well. I had been up at 10%, of course, whatever that was. I mean, number wise, and so in some regards, it said I was going to make it anyway. But the city of Chicago did not hire black men. Okay. Period.
Yeah.
Period. So I would not have gotten hired had it not been for a court order.
Okay.
So then large numbers of blacks have never come on the fire department unless it was through job action, strike. 300 blacks were hired during the strike in 1980.
Yep.
And a lawsuit. And they broke. That lawsuit is still in effect today. People don't know it, but it is. But there's no respect for it.
Well,
So
like we said, that's a whole nother conversation. That's a whole nother show.
it is.
Yeah.
So
DeKalb, how about yourself? We know you came and saw the trucks and on truck 30 looking all bright-eyed and bushy-tailed. But what happened after that?
Well, pretty much to add on to what he was saying, for starters, a lot of my friends didn't have fathers.
Yeah.
On the block I grew up on, they didn't have fathers. They all looked to my dad like a father figure type. They looked out for me, made sure I stayed out of trouble while he was gone, you know. And if I ever was to find myself in any type of situation, they'd be like, man, your father will kill you, man. You better get up out these streets or whatever. So, of course, but what I'm saying is that most of any kid with a father from a young age wants to be like his dad.
Yeah.
I sure as hell did.
Yeah.
I wanted to be him so badly. I was, named after him. Everybody, I used to smile when people say, oh, you look just like your father. Like, that was the biggest compliment you could ever give me.
I'm with that. That's cool.
So, of course, I was very attached to him. He worked not just the fire department, but he also had a chimney cleaning business. So he wasn't home very much. But the times when he was home, he always made it memorable. So, of course, that made me want to be with him and like him even more. So when my mother said, hey, we're going to see your father, I was already in the car before she could even finish the sentence. So,
okay.
We're talking, joking around, fooling around. He's about to leave because I had the thing off. He says, you want to come with me? I look at my mom. I was like, Mom, can I go with Dad? She says, no. I was like, come on, Mom, let me go. And he's like, let him go. So I run to the rig. I'm sitting in the back with him. Yeah, he was right. My eyes was wide, extremely wide.
Yeah.
So I wanted to get into this just because, like I said, I wanted to be like him. And as time progressed, I never lost interest in it. Never, ever. And I remember coming up in elementary school, they'd ask, what do you want to be when you grow up? I always put fireman.
Okay.
I made sure everybody knew my dad was a fireman.
Okay.
So much to the point that other kids in the classroom probably got tired of hearing about it. I did not care.
Yeah.
I didn't care.
I love
how that goes.
So that, along with other adults telling me, well, what if you change your mind? I'm not gonna.
Say it's not gonna happen.
Y'all obviously don't know me.
Yeah, because I know you're a pretty stubborn dude. Say, hey, that might not be the best idea. I don't care. Okay.
Look,
there you go.
I know what I want. I know what I'm going for. I've always been that way.
Yeah, you're a
and
driven dude. So.
A lot of people don't know that. Every move I make, every decision I make is always calculated. And I've been thinking about it for years. Even though you think I just woke up with it and I just started acting, no, I've been thinking about this for years. So when people say, well, what if you don't make it? Oh, no, I'm going to make it. Yeah. We had a plan A, B, C, whatever you want to call it. If I didn't make it, from passing this exam, we were going to take the back door, which is the route you came in as the medic route.
No, I wasn't across. I came on civilian.
Well, yeah.
But I was a medic. But I know what you're saying. You would have became a medic. You would have came on.
I would have came on that way.
Yeah. Yep. There's plenty of guys, sons, the same way that came on the exact same way. So like you said, you had the A, the B, the C, the D.
In other words, nothing was finna stop me from getting this.
I'm with that.
So, with that being said, every young kid, a lot of times they like to go out and hang with their friends and do, as we call it in the boondocks, do hood rat stuff with their friends. You know what I'm saying? Some people don't understand that term, but
I knew exactly where you was going.
I know.
I like to do hood rat
stuff with my friends, right? I wasn't into that. Like, if he said, "Hey, I'm going to, you want to come to work with me?" Yep,
I'm doing that. Okay.
One day, and because not only just my dad, my godfather's also a retired chief as well. His name's James Thompson. So him, my father, Lowell Nichols, who's a retired chief as well.
Uncle Les.
Yeah, Les Noy, my Uncle Les.
Yep.
Plenty of other people, but
Big Al.
But you're getting a little too ahead.
But okay.
Well, you know what? Al actually was there with us too. This is what I'm going for. They were all in the same firehouse together.
Oh, all right.
So Jimmy relieved my dad. My dad was on the 2nd platoon. Jimmy was on the 3rd. My mom had been gone to, I think, Jamaica for about a whole week. And she had just came back. Me and my dad were at work together. And he says, I guess my godfather wanted me to stay with him that day. My dad says, I don't think he gonna want to stay. He probably gonna want to go home and see his mother. He said, do you not know your son? So, of course, I come downstairs. I got my stuff ready to leave.
Yeah.
Jimmy says, D, you staying? I look, I said, huh? He's like, you staying? I look at my dad. I was like, can I? He was like, it's up to you. Yep, I'm staying.
Yep, I'm staying. No problem. You did a 48.
Basically, that was the first 48 I ever did.
The first 48, I'm with that.
Which is ironic because I did a lot of 48s on this.
You do 48s now. Man, if we ain't had that same day and daily, I'd be calling you up on the emergency like
all day.
Can you help me out, please?
All day. I was everybody's go-to guy when they needed a day.
You was my go-to guy when we had different days. Then they had to go and put you on the same one. Oh well.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's cool. Doing a 48 as a kid and just kind of hanging out. So I love that. I appreciate that you knew what you wanted to do. That's just awesome. There's so many times that people don't have any idea what they want to do, and they just out here with no guide, no direction. And the fact that you knew from a young age is really a good thing, and something we should try and preach and put out to our younger people under us. Not that they got to figure out their whole life while they 12 or anything, but have some kind of idea or direction that you might think you want to head to.
And the crazy part about it is that you really couldn't have planned this any better because the exam came out, I was 19 years old. Right away, he was in my ear because during that time, I had graduated high school and school was not my thing. Yeah. It was not. I'm more of a hands-on learner. Like, I can sit still and try to read for a little bit of time, but then I'll start nodding off because my attention span
is get up and put your hands on it.
Yeah. I need to see it. I need to touch it. I need to be able to put it to work.
I just took a class on that, and now I know how to teach everybody everything. So I'm with you.
Right.
Want to learn something?
Right.
Want to learn how to podcast?
Oh, most definitely. I'm more than willing to learn anything, especially now because, learning is definitely the key. But back then, I had a lot of other gears turning the wrong way in my head back then.
Okay.
And as time went on, like you say, I was a stubborn dude. Nobody could get to me. Nobody could get to me. So with that being said, my dad was the only one that actually knew how to get my attention with that sentence, the fire exams coming out. Instantly, I was like a dog in training.
I'm with it. Yep.
Like when he sees a tree, he straightens up.
Yep, ready to go.
That was me.
Ready to go.
Because before he said that, I was not hanging out with the right crowd of people.
Okay.
So, crazily enough, thankfully, nothing went so bad to the point where my mom was able to find out because she didn't find out till a couple years later.
Okay.
He somewhat knew, but he was just like, you can't be doing this if you're going to be a five. He knew how to bring me back. So that pretty much is what kept my attention. Took the exam when I was 19. Ended up with the number 237. And I got called right away. And the way he delivered that message to me was the most hilarious thing. I still remember it verbatim.
I was gonna tell him that. Go ahead.
So at that time I was working for UPS because
on this particular day you were working with me also.
Well, I was, but I came from my job with you.
Yes.
I also worked for him. He went in his chimney sweeping business and all that stuff. I worked with him as a teenager as well. So, but I had no plans on taking over that business. But I did it because it was a good way to put money in my pockets without having to. And I'm not looking down on this without actually having to work at a fast food joint or anything like that.
Oh no, we're not talking bad about.
Yeah, not looking down on anything, but it's nothing like, being able to get paid from your people's own pocket. Yeah. And you still earned it and worked for it. And nobody can take that from you. So aside from working for him, I was working at UPS. I was working they called it the graveyard shift. I started at like 3 a.m. all the way to 9. And that was
so like sorting.
Yeah,
pretty
basically.
much. Okay.
Yeah, I was a loader And then I did the bulk line, which was all the big packages.
Yep.
They had me all around that warehouse.
It's funny. I had a job very similar to that. So
Right.
I know exactly what you're talking. Oh, my God. They would bring in trucks, just big.
That's yours.
Semi.
That's yours. That's yours.
Yep.
That's yours.
Yep. And just, okay, take all. You see that? Empty that. Oh,
Right.
okay.
But the wild part about it is this job, UPS people would quit that after a day because they could not take the pressure. They
Yeah.
couldn't take the workload.
Yeah.
I myself, it was like, nah,
That's why I said
I'm not quitting.
Yeah,
So
that ain't you.
I'm not leaving here until I have a better option. Because I knew how important it was for me to come into my own. So, you know,
Where were we working that day when you found out?
well, we were working at a
We're at Maurice Dumas's
that
mother's
was
house.
right. Okay,
Chief Dumas.
Chief Mo Demas.
Yep.
We're at his mother's house working. Mm-hmm. And I gave her the letter and she read it. And I think she read it to you or asked you.
She didn't read it to me. This is how it happened. When I met up with him after I came out of work, met up with him, he introduced me to Mo's mother. Mm-hmm. And I greeted. I said, how you doing? I'm DeKalbs' son. She's like, yeah, I know you. I heard you got on the fire department. And I paused. I was like, wait a minute, what? And I looked at him. I said, is this true? He says, ain't that what he said? Ain't that what she said?
Uh-huh.
Man, I said, hold on 1 second. Man, I went outside, got in my car. I screamed at the top of my lungs out of happiness.
Yeah.
First person I called was the girl I was dating at the time.
Uh-huh.
And then I called, he's a pastor now, but he was my organist who I used to play drums next to at church.
Okay.
Because he was always, saying, hey, I'm praying that you make this job, Doc. It was just something about it, which he actually ended up marrying me and my wife now.
Okay, that's awesome.
So me and him have a connection just based off of that.
Yeah.
So I screamed at the top of my lungs.
Yeah.
I was happier than a pig and shit.
Yeah.
So at that time, whatever darkness I had going on,
Just lifted.
it went away.
Just gone.
It went away.
Yeah.
I did not care about what everybody else had going on. I didn't care who did not like me. I didn't care who did like me. I did not give a damn.
Listen, I had to tell him, you're going to change your friends a lot in this life. Don't worry about it.
Yeah. I wish I'd have known that. I mean, I didn't. When you're young, you don't really think about that kind of stuff. But you need somebody, and the fact that you had your dad telling you that and bringing you in is amazing.
It's odd. It's funny that you say that because me and my wife always had these debates about this type of stuff all the time. She's like, "That's not true. Why would he tell you?" I said, "That's not true for you.
Yeah.
That ain't true for you.
Yeah.
You don't know how lucky you are.
Yeah.
That the people who I see in my house that she brings over, there's pictures of them all over, like in shoe boxes. Like my wife's got pictures on top of pictures, and they're all in it from when they were young, when they were kids.
They've been together
For a long time.
Yeah.
So I used to envy her because of that, because like I was not that fortunate.
Yeah.
But a lot of the people,
Only child.
well, yeah, I mean the only
At
child
the
part.
time. At
Yeah,
the time.
yeah. The only child part, but the biggest thing was the friends though, because like you say, you change your friends. Some people don't have to.
Yeah. No, I got some buddies that been with me for forever. Like, I got some buddies, and then I got other friends that when we was hanging out, we just couldn't do the same stuff anymore. I knew what I wanted to do with my life and my career, and some of those relationships just don't survive.
And the funny part about it is that I only have one person that was with me from start to finish. I call him my older brother. He took the fireman's exam too, but they didn't get to his number. And then he's 10 years older than me, so of course he's past the age limit, so he can't do that. He ended up moving to Florida with his wife anyway, so I don't think that was going to go over. But the reason I'm saying that is because he was the only one who I could talk to about this stuff, and he would just sit there listening like me when I be talking to him, talking to my father. Yeah. So, be it as it was, at that time, like I said, all that darkness lifted because a lot of people who I called my friends, a lot of them had a falling out.
Yeah.
But then when they found out I got that call, I started upgrading everything. Got a brand new car, was working my way to getting my new apartment, like all that stuff. They found out about it. They, down there trying to come back acting like, I was like, nah, y'all got to move.
Yeah.
Y'all got to move aside.
Ain't no time to come back now and try and hang out.
Yeah, y'all got to go.
Yeah.
But be it as it was, anybody who knew me from the time I was young always knew firefighting was my thing. That was in my blood. That was what I wanted. Mm-hmm. So when I went to the academy, I kept my mouth shut.
Yeah.
I hated telling people my name.
Yeah, because they would automatically know as soon as you say what your name is. So,
Mm-hmm. So, and the funny part about it is, even before I even came on, it was times where I go to work with him when I was older, and I had hair, of course. He walk in the door first. They may see the back of him. I'll walk in the door right behind him, and they'll look like, wait a minute, huh?
Yeah.
Didn't you just walk through here?
Is it twins?
Right.
Yeah, because y'all do look alike.
Yeah.
But you ain't got no hair no more.
Right. Even then, he
still got all his hair.
Even then, that don't change anything. And I'm going to tell you why. This is the next story I'm going to get to. This is hilarious.
Okay.
And this is the only fire me and him have actually worked together. Uh-huh. So I was detailed to Truck 20. Uh-huh. He was still in the 23rd Battalion. Mm-hmm. Back then, Truck 20, which is currently Battalion 19, mm-hmm. was Battalion 18 at the time. Mm-hmm. They were doing PMs, preventative maintenance, for those that don't know what that means.
I was going to say, yeah,
so,
we gotta let the audience in. Okay, keep going.
So originally he would have been writ to that fire, but since the 18th was out, he became the steel chief.
Yeah.
So when we're getting in the rear, getting dressed, I hear them, Battalion 23, Battalion 23. Now, of course, anytime, me and him both worked the 3rd Platoon, so whenever I heard 23, I was always listening because I knew it was him.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking, oh, snap, he is coming this way. Mm-hmm. Battalion 23 taking the steel with 54 in the truck, 47 in the truck. And I'm thinking, okay, man, I don't want anybody to lose anything, but that day I was like, man, please let this be a fire.
Yeah.
Because I wanted to work with him that bad.
Yeah.
We pull up, nothing showing, but as soon as we open that door, whoosh,
okay,
all that smoke was bottled up. It hit us, mask up, we going in, we got a fire.
Got to start working, yeah.
So I go up with the captain, doing work in the back. Long story short, smoke starts to lift, and I know he's out there because I hear him.
Yeah.
Fireman on truck 30 comes to the back, says what's up to me. Mm-hmm. Goes to the front, mm-hmm. looks at him.
Didn't I just see you?
I was in the
turns around, looks back at me while I'm pulling the wall out. I see him out the corner of my eye.
Yeah.
And I know he got to be tripping out right now because he's trying to figure out what the hell is this.
What's going on?
So after a while, I'll come up to the front. My dad says, "Don't I know you?" I said, "I've never seen you before a day in my life, but I'll hug you anyway."
There you go.
So I give him a hug.
Yeah.
And my guy says, "Man, I thought y'all looked alike."
Yeah, that's good. He thought you did a time machine super jump because he was like, how did you age real quick and then get to the front in like 2 seconds? I know dude had to be
right.
tripping.
And where you get them bugles at?
Where you get all that from? Right. So that's awesome. That's an awesome story.
Yeah.
So it's 2 things I want to hit before I let you guys escape. The first one is the book. I want to talk a little bit about the book, Black Heroes of Fire. You were telling us about how you did all the research and found everything.
Yeah.
So just give us a little bit more insight into the book and then tell us how we can find it and purchase it.
I'll tell you how you can find and purchase it. I'll tell you that first.
Okay.
BlackHeroesOfFire.com, www.blackheroesOfFire.com, which is my personal website, and I send books out from that. Or you can go to the Amazon bookstore, and you can find Black Heroes of Fire by DeKalbs Wolcotts. You can find it there.
Okay.
That book, what was so interesting about it was I started back during the fire strike. Met during 1980, following 1980 fire strike, I met a lot of older black guys that were on the job that I hadn't met before. And they kept talking about Engine 21. And they were inventors of the firehouse sliding pole.
Right.
I was like, well, how come nobody know anything about it then if they did all this stuff, right? So I started digging. Into it. And sure enough, Engine 21 had it. Were responsible for the invention of the sliding pole. But nothing was written down. Everything was like more or less word of mouth. So I started collecting information and data at that time. I don't know. There was. Does you know Chief Steve Little? He's retired now. I think
Yes. He
I
just
say,
retired.
Can't not know Steve Little. You on Squad 1 now?
Yeah. He just retired.
His dad,
a couple days ago.
His dad, Ken Little.
Okay.
His dad, Ken Little, was a senior fire alarm operator. He helped me. He was a historian. He had a book on Chicago firehouses. That was his thing. But he had a wealth of information. So throughout the years, I started collecting information. When Harold Washington was in office, I asked at the Fire Academy because I knew they couldn't turn me down. I wanted to do a Black History project just out of the blue. So I took up that cabinet when you walk down the back towards the lunchroom area from the front in the academy.
Yes.
Well, the bay of windows in there had photographs throughout. And so the story about Engine 21. Engine 21 started December 21st, 1872. They were at 47 Eldridge Court. That's on 9th Street between State and Wabash.
Okay.
If you go underneath the L there on 9th Street, that was Engine 21's quarters.
Okay.
In a rented occupancy at that time. And as a matter of fact, the second Great Fire, 1870, July 14th, 1874.
Yep, the second one. Yep.
Second fire partially burnt their firehouse, but fortunately it didn't. It singed it, so to speak. And so Engine 21 stayed there for a few years, December 1875. So from 1872 to 1875, they were in a rented location. When they went to 1213 Plymouth Court, that's where the sliding pole was invented. They were in a 3-story building.
You know what? I just had a run there my last day at work on 11th in Plymouth. So I know exactly where you're talking about.
Certainly.
I know exactly. Because it's like back there in the cut.
That's right.
Yep. Okay.
The railroad's not far from there also.
Yeah, the L's across.
Well, not the
block.
L's.
Not
the
railroad.
railroad.
The railroad is the catty corner.
Sure.
But
Clark
the L
Street,
is
Clark
yeah.
Street, like LaSalle Street.
Yep.
So
I know
back
exactly
in
what you're talking
1872, and even prior to that, blacks lived on the south side of Chicago. They encompassed the area between, State Street and west of State Street, from Roosevelt down to, it's no more than about 3 or 4 blocks. But during that, north of Roosevelt, and the street is just not coming to me right
so
now.
about 1500, because Roosevelt's 12.
Not south. We're going north of Roosevelt. North of Roosevelt.
9.
So, my point is, there were streets called 2nd and 3rd Avenue, which was in fact Clark Street and Dearborn Street today. But the firehouse at 1213 South Plymouth Court is where the sliding pole was invented. Purportedly, a fireman named George was in a hayloft on the 2nd or the 3rd floor, and he was putting hay, storing hay in the hayloft for the horses. And an alarm came in. Everybody ran the stairs. He slid this pole that kept the hay in place. So these pieces were cross members like this, just to hold the hay in place.
Yeah.
And so he got down. He hooked up the horses, and by the time the other members made the floor, they jumped on the rig. They were ready to go out the door. So David Kenyon, who was their officer, they was a captain. He was like, "How'd you get down there so fast?" He said, "I slid that pole down." So he come up with the idea. David Kenyon was a carpenter prior to becoming serving in the Civil War, and then coming on the fire department after that. He asked Chief Brennan, could he cut a hole in the floor and attach this pole because it would increase members' response time.
Yep.
Chief Brennan told him that if it didn't work, he would have to take his money and close it back up.
Yep.
Well, 21 was getting out of the door in 12 to 14 seconds in the daytime. At night, it was closer to 28 to 30 seconds. but they were kicking the shit out of everybody because they were beating everybody into their fires.
Yeah.
They used to go to fires and take folks' fires.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
so serious.
They beating them there. I mean, what you gonna do? Look at it? You gonna watch and wait?
Now, that's a highlight. But during that same period, and that was the pole was invented about 1877.
Mm-hmm.
It showed up in City of Chicago annual report, fire department annual report that a firehouse sliding poles were being installed in firehouses throughout the city of Chicago to increase the members' response time.
Mm-hmm.
So there were a couple of negative things that came out of that. This article, I collected articles also. My next book called 100 Years of Public Service, Engine 21, 1872 to 1972. And I'm going to tell a story. I'm going to tell a few stories, but I have a Chicago Defender and the Chicago Tribune archived newspapers that date from 1863 up to 1973 during that lawsuit.
Time. Yeah.
When the lawsuit ends that newspaper article display.
Okay.
But I've got archival documents about blacks living in Chicago, Engine 21, some of their members who made rescues, some of the members who were injured as a result of buildings falling apart and then caving in on them, things like that.
Yeah.
We got an article that talked about they went to a lumber yard, and some of these other companies could not make this fire, right? It kept blowing back up at them, taking off all over again. They were out there, so they called 21 up. Engine 21 came in, got in front of everybody, knocked it down, put the fire out, then dropped the mic, right?
Yeah, and said, okay, we ain't cleaning up.
So
Gotcha.
there's another article where there are little kids that say, oh, Engine 21, those are our heroes. He said, white guys can't make that. He said, they're like salamanders. They crawl underneath the smoke. This is what the article was back in 1800.
Yeah.
They crawl underneath the smoke. They're like salamanders. They go in and put the fire out, right? Every time. Those are our heroes. These were kids who visited the firehouse that had these conversations. So the next book is going to be very, very interesting. I got 200 photographs. I got at least 150 newspaper articles. Okay. It is totally a documentary on Engine 21 and a public service. See, people don't recognize being a public servant says something. That means that you will stop whatever you're doing to help somebody else out.
Yep.
That's a bona fide public servant. The average so-called public servant, they don't do none of that shit. They go backwards. You ask them to volunteer for something, they step back. They don't step up.
They don't step
You know
up.
firemen that's scared to go in a goddamn fire building.
I just had this conversation. If you listen to my episodes, I had these conversations like people who say we get the same check, and I'm going somewhere slow on purpose. Those people annoy me to no end because you can't. I'm just not a person that's going to be proud of not doing nothing.
That's right.
That's just not what's up. So when those people say that to me, they can just say that over there and not to me.
Right.
I'm not with that.
No, and I get that. Now, this kid here, he ain't no kid no more, but he's worked on all fast companies. Hell, I was at 101 for 6 years.
Man, this dude done been on like all. He probably got the sweetest resume of companies of anybody. I mean, this dude done been on. So that's my last thing that I wanted to get to with you gentlemen here. Okay. Before we started, we was having a little debate, and I said, no, we got to get this on tape. Stop talking right now.
Right.
So just to let the world know, I appreciate engines. They cool. They do whatever. They come and they spray water. I mean, they all right. And it's more of them. I mean, it's whatever. But trucks is like the illest things out here, right?
I don't disagree.
Okay. Now, your dad was telling us if it wasn't for the engines,
no, he didn't say it like that. He didn't say it like that. Dad said, you motherfuckers can't put no fire out with no axe, no pike pole, or a ladder. Now, give me a 2.5-inch line. I'll drop the mic with that bad boy right there. I have done this. I stretched out 2.5-inch hose lines by myself.
I believe it.
Took it in the exposure building to the second floor. Knocked everything down all the ceiling came down, of course, right?
Yeah.
So before you try something like that, you got to ask him how you do it. He know how to do it because I taught him how to do it.
I'm sure he started off on the engine,
it's
but where he at
process.
now?
It's a process. This whole scenario is a process, right? So now I'm in this older building on Garfield Boulevard, right? I'm on truck 18. This hose line and pushed me and my little ass out into the little vestibule area, right? Those old frame buildings, the ones that had the second floors, they had narrow stairwells. Then they had a little small foyer before you actually walked into the apartment.
Yep.
Well, I was in that little foyer, tired as hell, right?
Yep.
But the fire was out, right? So one of the guys came back and says, hey, Captain, it's still going in here. So I said, I took my elbow and I punched a fucking hole in the wall and I stuck the pipe in there and
Right
opened
in
it
there.
up. I said, let me know when it's out, right? Because I ain't moving this line no more. I was
created
beat
the
down.
first cellar nozzle. Well, maybe not the first, but you made the cellar. Now you cut
That
the hole
distributed
and put it
nozzle.
down there.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Use that, too.
I just know I like to chop fires out, and I don't need no water. I mean, I'm just saying. It's a little bit of fire on the floor. They say, hey, it's still going. I say, get me this axe, and I chop it out real quick, and then we go home.
I look at it this way. Both
That's good.
goes hand in hand, all right? You can't do, I mean, of course, as an engine, you ain't going to be there. It's not going to go as fast without the truck there.
Yep, right.
So, and I've been in many fires where, of course, this is me on the truck now. It's hidden. It's in the walls.
Yeah.
It's places where you can't see.
In places where you can't spray.
They see it outside, but
Yeah.
we can't see it inside.
Yeah.
So, of course, listening to the radio transmission, it's on the B side. It's on the B/C corner.
See
Like,
corner, yeah.
so, of course, I find my way back there. I'm like, okay, nobody's pulling back here. All right, I'm going to start opening this up. And lo and behold, as soon as I get that sweet spot, I yank it out.
And fire just
Hello.
come out. And then here I come with an axe, and then I just chop it out. Because ain't no engine up there. No, I'm just
And then when both of y'all get tired, I'm going to order somebody to take me a line up there. And please put this motherfucker out
There
so we
you
can go
go.
home. So they'll stop playing with this.
Well, yeah.
Now that's what we all aspire to. You're right, because
Yeah.
you order somebody to get up there and get it done.
Yeah.
So that's the
In-
Trump answer.
in all
that's the card you win.
In all seriousness, like, nobody, we ain't stepping on anybody's toes when it comes to the engine versus truck. We
these
jag
just
each
jokes.
other. Yeah, we
Yeah,
jag
these
each other.
just jokes.
Some people take that to the heart, and it's just like, don't do that.
Yeah,
'Cause
no.
you-
we
you
are
went
here
for-
to do the same job
Right.
at the end of the day.
It's-
We here to serve the citizens. That's what
Right.
you said, public servant.
And of course,
up.
if you're gonna be with me, you're gonna be in for a long day because I'm gonna fuck with you every chance I get.
Oh,
But,
yeah, that's what you should do.
But be it as it is, as far as what you were saying before about the guys that say we all get paid the same, and what I would tell them is I say, yeah, some of us are overpaid.
Yeah, I like
Guess,
that.
guess who it is.
Yeah, it ain't me.
And I even told, and this disturbs me a little bit because of the fact that you got candidates that come out
With that attitude.
and they ask them, where do you want to go?
Yeah.
And they'll name a house that's like really slow. I'm not gonna say any companies or no names, nothing like that.
Well,
but
we have places for people who need to be in those places.
well, yeah, certain parts of the city are not as active as others.
That's
Yeah.
tradition.
So-
that has been tradition. Go ahead.
Right. So they would rather go to the spots that are not as active because, like they say,
a
somebody
senior person spot.
right
Out the gate.
who did his time, earned his pay. Now it's time to go smooth sailing and enjoy retirement.
Yeah.
But
They starting out there.
They starting out
They
there.
start
not
out there.
leaving.
They asked to go there now. Before,
Yep.
like when I came out the academy, all right, that was not a compliment. You didn't want to go in a place where just anywhere. You wanted to go where it was working. They beat that in your head.
Yes, absolutely.
So
like
and,
when you get to pick, like
and you-
certain people get to pick where you want to go. Where you
Right.
get awards, and I mean,
and you talk about my resume as far as the houses I've been to. I'm gonna tie
Yeah.
that into it.
yeah,
I started out in 116. I was there for 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
All right, 4 years was not enough to get you anywhere
No.
near any of these houses in the places where I've worked. So, my last year at 116, I sat at truck 18 because that was when they had the BLS program coming up. If you wasn't ALS, they just made you BLS. They got rid of the first responder part.
Yeah.
So 50 was ALS. Truck 18 became BLS. That house went from not having a BLS or ALS company at all except the AMBO to now you got ALS and BLS. The guys on the third platoon, none of them were EMTs except the captain on the engine. And then a candidate who came out right behind me. So he ended up sitting on the truck like his candidate, he sat on the truck. And then I was getting detailed in and out of there a lot.
Yeah, in the
along with other
battalion.
guys in the battalion. A lot of guys didn't like doing that.
Yeah.
I looked at it as an opportunity to learn truck work.
Yeah,
So
you signed up for it.
we had, my father was a captain there at Truck 18 back in 2003.
Okay.
So I was a little familiar with the place. I met he was the lieutenant there that relieved my dad. He was still there when I came out.
Oh, that's cool.
So him and my captain Mauricio Rodriguez, they were both West Side guys. Truck 26, Truck 29. And, I would be listening to their stories, their West Side stories, and I'd just be in awe of the stuff they were telling me. And these guys wasn't bullshitting because people, they confirmed those stories to be true.
Yeah.
So between going back and forth to Mo and Mike Tobar, I was like, I got it made. I got these two well-experienced guys showing me stuff, and, it couldn't get no better. So what I did was I asked my battalion chief, retired Joe Quinn, I said, look, I don't have no time to get on a good truck. If you need help with somebody here, let me sit here as your EMT so I can learn some truck work too.
Yeah.
And he's like, you do that? I said, sure, why not?
Yeah, that's a step up move. That's a strong move. Yeah.
And the best part about Truck 18 was we only did like 2-3 runs a day, but they were mostly fires.
They was fires.
They was fires, still calls.
They still like that now.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I was putting in for the spot, but I was getting beat out by guys with way more time than me.
Yeah, that's how it goes. I mean, that's how it should go, honestly. So, yep.
And when I finally did get out, not like I wanted to leave 116 so bad I had to get out. No, I wanted to go to a truck and learn truck work. So I ended up going to Truck 33 down the street. Some people wasn't really too happy with that move. I didn't care because I've seen Truck 33 at a decent amount of fires.
Yeah.
People think because the call volume is not as high, they don't go to fires. I was like, nah, they still a second truck to a lot of stuff with 116 because the squad does not count as a truck. You still need a second truck on the card.
Yep.
So I got in that way, and we had a nice group. They took me under their wing, took me to the roof, showed me what I needed to know being up there, got me in the driver's seat, got me certified to drive. They looked out for me.
Is that Hoyle?
Yeah, Hoyle Marshall was the 15th Battalion at the time.
Okay.
So he looked out for me, and the rest of the guys in the house looked out for me. And that made a big difference. And that's another thing. Your company, your officer, as well as the guys you work with, makes a huge difference in how your day's going to go.
Absolutely.
So
how your career for that time that you there is going to go. Not just how your day is going to go.
But you take it day by day. That's,
you got
put it all
to
together.
break it up into chunks.
Right,
yeah,
right.
If you get with the wrong crew.
Most definitely. So, again, I'm not putting nobody out there. So I left there. My mission was to get out west because at the time I was dating my current wife now, who, she actually, crazy enough, is a fire fan because she loves hearing my stories. And, I taught her about rig placement. So when they had a fire down the street from my house not too long ago, she knew exactly where everybody was coming from just based off of what I told her. But beside the point, I was getting out there so I could be closer to her because, she has an illness called endometriosis. So she can't do much because of that. My daughter has the same thing. I needed to be close to home because it was times where they were going to the hospital and I needed to know what was up.
Yeah.
So I was trying to get out there. I finally did, but I think with the first I had between having 4 to 6 years, I couldn't even touch 113.
Yeah.
I couldn't come nowhere near that battalion unless I was on the trade.
Yeah.
So I'm looking at it now. Years later, I got 13 years on. I'm assigned to Hook and Ladder 26. Been there for 3 years. Of course, everybody keeps asking, so where you going to next? Y'all will know when the order comes out. But Engine 95, a very hard spot to get. Truck 26, very hard spot to get.
Yes.
I got Truck 26 with 9 years on the job.
Yeah.
9-10 years. That was damn near impossible back in the day.
Now it's kids. It was a guy that got it with 6 years.
And I was just about to get to that. Engine 95.
Yeah.
Got same order. Had 2 guys with, if you combine their time, still didn't equal double digits.
Yeah.
Both of them, their time combined, still had less time than me.
Well, you know what it is.
And they still got it.
It's kind of that younger generation. But as long as we still have those guys that's willing to work and do some work, we'd be fine. We'd
of course.
be all right. It's just it's It's just different now. That's all. And just my little bit of time, I got 12, you got 13.
Mm-hmm.
It's just I done seen some things that are very interesting when you know the history.
Yeah.
And you like super senior, man, because you've been there since you was a kid doing 48.
Look here.
So
Look here. I ain't got my dad's time. That don't count. I wasn't on the payroll.
No, I'm just
I know, but
you know a lot more of the history than I do. And you from here.
Right.
I
I like to keep this clear.
Yeah.
A lot of guys try to use their old man's
dad's
time.
time.
I do not do that.
No, you
Like,
don't.
I come into every new firehouse I transferred to, and you're a witness to this.
Yeah.
When I came in 96, I didn't act like I knew everything.
No, not at all.
When people ask me, well, what do you know? I don't know nothing. Show me what you know.
Yep.
And then I'll add what I know to that later.
Yeah.
If you approve of it, and this is me talking to the officers, if you approve of it, I'll keep it up. If not, okay, what's your way?
Mm-hmm.
If it's not going to get me killed, I'll do it.
Yeah, that's what I say. That's like with food.
Let
You
me
ain't
add
gonna kill
something
me, I
here.
eat
He was
it.
talking about 113. I'm so glad he didn't go to 113 because 113 had roaches, man.
Yeah.
Cockroaches like this.
Yeah, I didn't see
Look, that's
But
horrible.
we don't want to talk bad about
Right, we're not gonna
113,
get into
but
that.
113,
that's
I
true.
said it. They got roaches.
Hey,
Cockroaches.
I still would have took it because of the, like I said, closer to home, still
Well-
going to fires.
96 had rats,
Right.
but they had a dog that ate the rats, and then the dog's tail grew like a rat. But then the rats was gone by the time we got there, so we ain't have to
But
worry
shoot, you know
about
what? One actually came to the firehouse.
it. Yes, that one time.
That one day.
yeah.
It was
and
me,
he hit it with
you,
the shovel.
No. I remember how we killed this one. This was a funny story, though. This is when we had the candidate on the truck,
Okay.
a.k.a. Jeff Bezos,
Yes.
Mr. Amazon.
Mr. Amazon, exactly.
So we're in the back talking. We hear everybody like in the upper, like, what's going on? It's a rat in the firehouse. I'm thinking it's a joke, like, okay, who snitched? No, it's an actual
it's a
rat.
rat.
He ran under the fire truck, went underneath one of the cabinets.
Mm-hmm.
So they all come to the back. Rat comes out. We lure it into the closet right across. But I'm like, oh, it's trapped. They can't go nowhere.
Mm-hmm.
So I grabbed one of the scrub brushes that we used to scrub out with.
Mm-hmm.
When candidate goes in, flushes them out, it runs by me. I put a hockey swing on it. Send him flying into the cabinet. And it drug itself underneath the cabinet before I said, Bezos, hit him with the axe.
Yep.
He
I
takes a
remember
full
that.
swing at it.
Yeah.
And you see the sparks fly.
Yep.
When he hits the ground, it's like, no, man. All you had to do
Flat.
was like this. And
Yeah.
it's similar to a fire when you tell a candidate, hey, take this window out. And they're doing it the only way they know.
Wrong way.
So you got to show them your way. So I showed them afterwards, but fast forward, Captain Joe Burge comes back there with a pike pole.
Chief now.
Chief Joe Burge now.
Yeah.
Back then he was a captain.
Yeah.
Comes in there with a pike pole and 300, like 300 speared him.
Yeah, spirited.
Brought him out. I was like, so you about to take that to the back and
Right, put it over the grill.
Put it
and
over
cook
the-
it.
right,
Yeah.
right.
Rotisserie rat.
protein?
Yep. Well,
Look, rats, roaches, go. Y'all missed the projects, man.
when they tore down the
Fucking
projects,
rats
they ain't
and
had nowhere to go.
Cockroaches up in there was horrible. Them
Yeah.
incinerators, please give
I
me a
heard
break.
about
Yeah, I remember I went down there with you one day.
You know what? That's some of them stories are in the book. Even though I didn't live them, I heard about them a lot. Like with the bowling ball, putting the bowling ball
Yeah.
on the string
Yeah.
down the
You didn't
incinerator
need no
chute.
string. You'd end up at the bottom.
Okay, I heard it a whole
Yeah,
bunch
yeah,
of
yeah,
different
yeah.
ways. But that's what
Yeah.
I'm saying. That's the improvised tools part of the story. So
Yeah.
you guys, thank you so much for
One
getting
last
together.
question. Do you guys
Sure.
carry sand on your truck?
Sand
Winter, you use sand in the wintertime for
instead
ice.
of salt?
You use sand.
Yeah.
Just get a bucket of sand and put on your rig.
We
Morris Davis will tell you that.
some companies still do that. Well, that's like the bowling pin, and
Yeah,
to
in the
get-
projects, absolutely.
Yep. So the bowling ball and the bowling pin, and then in the kitchen you got the pool ball to stop up the sink because the stoppers always disappear, but that ball stay around for forever
Right.
for some reason.
Morris, also, you could drain the flow in the bathroom by taking that toilet out. Too.
Taking
So
the
water
toilet
go
out.
right down
Yep.
in there.
Yep. I used
Hey, I want to do this again. This was a good time. I ain't seen him in a while either, so this is
Yeah.
a good time for us. Can we do this again?
absolutely.
If I can't do it again, I'm going to mess something up. though, if
No,
I
don't
leave
do
it.
that. Don't do
Yeah.
that.
All right.
You already
Don't-
want to do
don't-
engine stuff.
don't have a stroke, old man.
Yeah, if it was truck stuff, then I'd
Look,
be scared.
we are in a time where COVID is spreading like wildfire. You lucky to have made it this far.
Oh,
do
man.
do not put yourself in a position to where
y'all
you
rough.
end up having to
Y'all
leave.
rough.
He already know my history.
So
he might summon his daddy and get back some pimping and simping and
oh please,
check you.
That man's still here. That man's still around, fucking with everybody.
He's wrong.
Okay. Well, like I said, thank you so much for coming in. I appreciate y'all being here.
Special.
With that being said, I will talk to you guys next time.
All right, we appreciate you, sir.
Yep. Bye.
There you go.
This has been a Fire and Iron Media production. You have something to say, people want to listen.